Okay, hi. I'm Kaylee Gokul, recruitment chair for Seattle Mountain Rescue and volunteer and member since 2019. I am going to be doing something a little bit different tonight. Instead of making you guys attend the sessions in person, we're going to be doing a virtual info session. And this is hopefully really helpful for you guys to be able to watch this whenever you want from the comfort of your home. With all of our busy schedules, this just seems to work the best. So make sure you take notes though, because there will be a quiz at the end, and I'm not joking about that because we want to make sure that you listen to everything. This is going to ensure that you don't waste your time or our time, so that you make sure you understand all of the requirements and what your first year of Seattle Mountain Rescue will actually look like. We really want to set you up for success if you decide to join our team. So with that, I will share my slides. So Seattle Mountain Rescue information session. This should take 30 to 60 minutes depending on how long I talk. I've been part of Seattle Mountain Rescue since 2019. I joined because I have had some of the most rewarding and life-changing experiences taking calculated risks in the backcountry, and I want to make it more possible for other people to have those same experiences and to feel like they have just a little bit of that extra safety window, knowing that there's an organization like us that can help when bad luck or mistakes happen. Now, we all try to do our best to avoid those mistakes, obviously, and we, as Seattle Mountain Rescue, do try to do our part to do some outreach, to educate the public on how to avoid these common mistakes that do happen in the backcountry. But we all know that there's a lot of things that we can't control. And I've been mountaineering in parts of the world where they don't have organizations like this, and you just have to hope that you know someone that likes you enough that's willing to risk their lives to come out and get you if you're lost. So it's really, really fantastic opportunity that we have organizations like this, and I'm proud to be a member. So for tonight, we're going to talk about what King County Search and Rescue Association is, what Seattle Mountain Rescue is, talk about our expertise and our culture, what the application requirements are, the application process, what your first year will look like, and then specifically what the anatomy of a specific mission looks like. So Seattle Mountain Rescue, we are a 100% volunteer organization. We are a group of seasoned alpinists who are dedicated to saving lives through search, rescue, and mountain safety education. Our specialties are travel, technical travel and rescue, wilderness medicine, leadership, risk management, and some community outreach. We're about, I think currently we have 76 active field members, 3 novices, which means that they should become active field members once they finish their training and their requirements, and then 10 admin, so 100% volunteer. We perform search and rescue operations for lost and injured hikers and climbers. We specialize in technical rock and rescue in snow environments and snow environments, and we work alongside the police, fire, and other rescue teams. We are based out of King County, and we work closely with the Sheriff's Office. We provide mutual aid to other countries in other counties in the state, as well as Mount Rainier, Olympic, and North Cascade National Park. So we mainly serve King County, but we can be called anywhere in the state. And in fact, I believe historically, we have even been called to Alaska, although that is not happening recently. And then for our funding, we get a very small county parks level grant, and then the rest of the funding comes from private donors and businesses. So if you decide at the end of this that joining Seattle Mountain Rescue is not for you, I do definitely invite and request that you share this with friends and consider donating yourself. So let's talk a little bit about what 2021 year in review looked like for Seattle Mountain Rescue. We have 76 active field members. We went on 143 missions, total of 718 mission hours. That's not everyone in the unit's hours combined. That's just total hours that our team spent out in the field. And the average mission duration is 5.6 hours. And the average travel from base, so let's say we meet at the Snoqualmie parking lot, and then we head out to Snow Lake, for example, that's what we're talking about, like how far we have to go from base to get to the subjects. So a little brief history. I won't bore you with too much of the details, but it is kind of cool to see that Seattle Mountain Rescue was actually founded in 1948. It was one of the first organizations in the area to be founded for mountain rescue. And then we had a branch of a group called Explorer Search and Rescue that was founded, and they still exist. I'll call them ESAR probably from now on. And They're a fantastic group. We work alongside them a lot for rescues. And I would say that their areas of expertise are actually more in taking on people that have a little less technical skill and ability to begin with. And they have a really good mentorship program and education program built within, so that you can start when you're a little bit younger and kind of learn with a lot of good structure while still giving back. And then we do have a lot of members who are on Seattle Mountain Rescue started in ESAR, and then they joined SMR afterwards. ESAR is fantastic. They're actually better than us sometimes at kind of boots on the ground, carrying the litter down a trail. And where we shine is more in the steep and high angle rescues, where we need to have more efficient rigging. Then in 1956, Mountain Rescue Association was founded. So Mountain Rescue Association is an umbrella over both of those organizations. And then King County Search and Rescue Association became the local umbrella for many other teams. So on the right there, you'll see, Explorer Search and Rescue, Seattle Mountain Rescue. We've got 4x4 where they'll go out on 4x4s on trails that are accessible to that. And that's fantastic for them getting out faster than us. We've got horses, we've got dog rescue, and things like that. Ski patrol. I'm not going to go through all of those, but we are under that umbrella of King County Search and Rescue, and then Mountain Rescue is over even King County Search and Rescue. So if you look at this bottom right corner, it's really cool to see our mission average by decade. We had about 37. Our average was 37 missions per year in 1990s. In the 2000s, we had 60. In 2010s, we had about 100. And in 2021, we had 143. So it looks like that trend is just continuing to grow. And I think you could look at those statistics a few different ways. I think people are getting more interested in doing fun outdoor activities in the backcountry. I think our population is growing. So I don't think that the numbers of rescues growing necessarily means people are being more careless. I just think that most likely it's because there's more people out there. And even sometimes the more people that are out there, for example, in an avalanche situation, more people can mean more risk just by the nature of there might be someone above you that could set off an avalanche above you, for example. So here's a bigger picture of King County Search and Rescue and all the other associations within it. And within King County Search and Rescue, or CASARA, we have 534 members, 200 missions in 2021, and then 1,879 mission hours. So if you go back to ours, we had 143 missions and 718 hours. So we went on quite a few of the total rescues that or missions that happened in 2020, but there are some that we don't get called to. For example, if 4x4 can get there easily, there's just no need for us to go out and rescue. So this is a cool graph to show us kind of the yearly averages of rescues needed per month of the year. So when I look at this graph, the main takeaway I see is that transitional months where we're going from, oh my gosh, there's no snow, to now there's a ton of snow, or it's been really sunny and now it's getting really cold and wet, or it's been really snowy, it's nice outside in Seattle, so let's go on a nice summer spring hike, but oh, there's still snow in the mountains. So kind of more in like May and June, and then November, December. But we never had fewer than 5 missions a year. Or never fewer than 5 missions a month, as you can see. And then one thing really important to note, this may be on the quiz, is that only part of our rescues are technical missions where we're actually getting to do the exciting rigging stuff or the climbing, even though we need a very high level of expertise for our members to be proficient at. We also often are just helping people that have had some muscle cramps because they're having electrolyte imbalances, diabetic issues, or sprained ankles, and we're carrying people down a trail. So that's one thing that's important for us to tell you guys, because we don't want you to join just because it's this sexy idea that you're going to be out there swinging on ropes and on the sides of cliffs all the time. There is a certain amount of just boots on the ground, just helping people get out safely. And then 3% in 2021 was recoveries. So that's another thing to note, is that sometimes we do have to recover bodies and bring them back to their family. And sometimes we know that that's what we're going into. And sometimes we start thinking that it's going to be a live subject. And unfortunately, it still ends up being a recovery. And then we also are part of evidence searches. And this is always optional, but it's encouraged to help out. With the sheriff department, will call out if they need help looking for remnants or clues or remains in a steeper area that they need some rigging for. Then we'll get to, for example, I went out and helped look for some human remains. So we're trying to identify, is this a deer bone or is this a human bone? And we had to actually belay ourselves down the cliff because, well, I won't go into the gory details actually, but that's an option for you to be a part of that. And some people find that to be really interesting and a meaningful way to give back as well. So let's talk about Seattle Mountain Rescue's area of expertise. Kind of like I talked about earlier, we are experts in rigging. We have very sophisticated systems that we have to learn how to use together, and we're constantly updating them. So it is important that you're prepared to stay up to date by going to 20 hours of rigging training every year. So that we can practice together as a team in steep, high angle, and low angle rigging situations. We also have a high level of expertise in rock climbing, and that means also alpine trad, anchor building and setting, because a lot of times when there's a rescue needed in a high angle situation, there's not going to be perfect anchors, right? So we need people that have experience in getting creative with how we make our systems safe. We have excellent leadership, and one thing I would say is that almost everyone on our team exhibits leadership in the field, and it's interesting to be on a team full of leaders. You need to be able to listen and to be able to take direction. So we don't want people that are stubborn or authoritative leaders, but we do want people that can stand up for what they're thinking and speak up for things that seem unsafe or that should be done differently, because together, if we listen to everyone's voices, we usually can make better decisions and come up with more creative solutions. We specialize in technical terrain, as you can see in that picture there, just high angle. Sometimes we'll be anchoring off of things like a railing, or we anchored off of a truck, I think, one time to go off the side of the road. Snow travel and avalanche terrain, of course, and then medical as well. We have tons of doctors, EMTs, nurses on our team, and we do monthly now medical trainings that are optional, but definitely encouraged that you attend and you can learn. We often try to have it be seasonal. So, as summer's coming up, we're talking about heat stroke and what to do with those patients. And then as winter's coming up, talking about hypothermia or trauma injuries. My experience with Seattle Mountain Rescue has been that it's a very inclusive team environment, that people don't join because they just want to be heroes, but they join because they want community. And I think we have a great sense of humor, and I really enjoy hanging out with the people on Seattle Mountain Rescue. And I think that the people who do best and that stay the longest in Seattle Mountain Rescue are people that are also looking for community and willing to spend some of their time outside of just the rescues themselves, getting to know and spending time with their teammates. So, for example, we have Halloween parties. We recently just had a ski movie night at our new headquarters, and here's a Cinco de Mayo picture on the left there. So COVID put a little bit of a wrench in that, but I would say that we do have a pretty social group, and there's as much as you want. We also have 2 dogs and 1 in training who are part of our resiliency and mental health committee. So this is Pickles and Bungie, and I think the other one's name is Ruffles. And so we have 8 humans on the team and 3 dogs on the team. And I would say that's one thing that Seattle Mountain Rescue really focuses on is, hey, we're doing really hard work, and it's not just hard physically, but it's hard emotionally to see people suffering and to sometimes have to bring bodies home to their families. So we have lots of trainings and resources that our goal is to help people feel supported, even though this is hard work. And one of the things that actually helps people feel more supported and more resilient when they are dealing with crisis or with stressful situations is social support. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about before. If you spend time together outside of just those high stress rescue environments, then you're more likely to feel supported and to do well and to be resilient, even though there is stress. We also have mentorship. I will say we don't have a super strong mentorship program. We're working on it, but what seems to keep happening is we assign people mentors or teams of mentors, and everyone is just very busy, right? Seattle Mountain Rescue is often like your fifth or sixth priority in life. You've got your family, friends, you've got your health, you've got your job, you've got your recreation and hobbies, and then maybe you've got Seattle Mountain Rescue, and maybe you have something else above that. So for everyone, we're really looking for people who are self-starters, who can take initiative and ask questions when they need. Everyone on our team is super friendly. So as long as you reach out to someone, you're going to get help. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to point you in the direction of who knows the answer. But I would say we're not good. We haven't been good if people expect to just be kind of like walked through, or I hate this saying, but like for people to hold their hand through it. So just kind of think about if what category you would fall in there, and if you think you could be sort of a self-starter with us, even though we are probably going to set you up with a pod of other newbies and then a few seasoned mountaineers as well. So the application requirements, this is the nitty gritty. This is maybe where you want to take some notes down, but it's also a lot of this stuff is still like just laid out really nicely on the website, where you probably found the link to this video. So we want 3 years of each of the following. So these are 3 kind of separate categories. There may be some crossover, so you're allowed to list something in both. But I think if you can only come up with a few for each, then we're probably going to want to like improve your resume a little bit. So we want trad climbing ability 5-6 or higher. So it's not a very high rating ability of climbing. We of course encourage that people feel more comfortable climbing on things harder than that. But really what we want is to see that you've been on multi-pitch, to see that you've been in some remote locations, because that tells us a lot more about your technical ability and your ability to manage and assess risk. We're also looking for you to have 3 years of safe winter backcountry travel. So we don't require that you ski or snowboard, although that's always a bonus. You could be snowshoeing in the backcountry for 3 years, but you'd have to be a pretty avid snowshoer, meaning you need to be going on some technical terrain that does involve you assessing avalanche terrain safely. And because of that, we also, I'll go on the next slide, but we do require some formal avalanche training before you enter Seattle Mountain Rescue, before you apply. We're also looking for intermediate glacial travel or higher. So what I mean by that is we want to see that you have not only just gone on some basic climbs led by the mountaineers, for example. That's great. That's an awesome start. That's where a lot of us started. But we want to see that you've then taken that and gone to more complicated routes with multiple different objective risks that you are managing safely, and that you have demonstrated leadership on those trips. So if you've been on a lot of trips for 3 years, but you've never been the team lead, the person that's kind of designing or outlining the plan and executing it and watching out for people that are less experienced than you, then we want you to spend a little bit more time focusing on that before you apply. Hopefully that's clear. I know it's kind of complicated. So other check marks, okay? We have to have first aid and CPR. Absolutely have to have that. Encouraged to have a wilderness first aid or wilderness first responder or EMT. Have to have avalanche level 1 or equivalent. Have to have 21 years of age or older. Be able to provide 2 positive references from members of the mountaineering community, and we will call them. And then we need you to complete, this is just a state requirement, the ICS 100 and 700. So after you watch this video and complete the quiz, you'll get access to the application, which will include a link to those courses. And they're just really basic, and I've got to get through them, do the paperwork, and submit those that you've completed them before you apply. We also are going to be looking through the application and through the interview for these skills: leadership skills, team collaboration and involvement, strong communication skills, risk assessment, management, and decision-making in the backcountry. So what does the whole process look like? Congratulations, you're already doing number 1. You're watching a short video, and then after this, you're going to complete a short quiz and then receive the link to the application. Then step 2, you'll fill out the application and submit it by the deadline. I've got deadlines listed on the website as well as on the next slide. That will include a climbing resume, references, and a few short answer questions, as well as uploading your CPR, avalanche certification, and that ICS state requirement 100 and 700. If we go through your application and we say, yeah, you meet all the requirements, you sound like a great fit, then we will invite you to an interview. Either way, we'll let you know whether you're invited or not, okay? And so if you come to the interview, which is on the next slide, we'll tell you the date. There'll be about 30 minutes where you'll be talking with resiliency team, medical team, rigging team, and the outreach and rescue committee chairs. There may be board members present, and then I will be present, as well as the membership chair will be present. So we'll be just getting to know you by asking you some questions. We're trying to make it as comfortable as possible for everyone. We know interview situations can be stressful, but we do need to make sure that we can assess how you think about things. So come, be yourself, but also think about how you're going to show us those skills that we talked about in the previous slide through your answers. Okay, and then if after we kind of gather up and grade your answers from the interview as well as your application, we're going to accept 10 people. So there may be, if there's 15 beautiful, wonderful applicants, we won't have room to accept everyone. So there'll have to be some way that we choose who is going to be accepted and who's not. And you may not receive an invitation to join the team, but you may receive an invitation to apply again next year or to go straight to the interview next year. So that's an option. And there's lots of wonderful SMR members who didn't make it on the team the first time. So don't feel alone if that's you. And then board confirmation. So it's just a formality that then once we decide who's going to be accepted to the team, we need board approval. So members of our board will present your application to them. They'll check off that you're allowed to join the team, and then we'll contact you. So important dates to save. This should be on the website, but go ahead and write them down if you want. Make sure they're in your calendars. These are non-negotiable. February 4th is when the applications are due. March 4th is when the interview will be held. And unfortunately, we are unable to offer accommodation for a different date. There's just too many people to try to get together to make that happen. And so we need you to be available on that day, or else we're gonna have to try a different year. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about that. And then we also want you to make sure to put in your calendars April 22nd and 23rd, 2023, because that's gonna be when Rigging for Rescue training is, those 20 hours, and that is required. So what does a mission look like? So first thing that will happen when you're paged out to a mission, you'll get either a text or an email on your cell phone that will tell you what the mission is and say, let us know, text back. And oh, sorry, I skipped a section there. So the CASARA units will get a page out to the ITOL, which is the in-town person who's in charge that weekend or that week for paging out to all the Seattle Mountain Rescue members. Then if you're available, you text back and ask for more information on the mission, and the ITOL person will tell you where it is and when to meet and who else is going. Then you're gonna meet at the base wherever they tell you to with your own personal gear, and we'll make sure that you are familiar with exactly what that gear is and what you need to bring. And then you also need to have some empty space in your backpack because you might be carrying up a lot of gear as well. Usually the first people that arrive at the base will be part of a hasty team, which will try to get out to the subject as fast as possible. And then they'll be followed up by other members and teams, which will be carrying more of the heavy gear and going a little bit slower, bringing things like the litter and more medical equipment. Then the fun begins. We can rescue, package, and care for the subjects. And then depending on the appropriate method of getting them out of the field, we may either carry them down in the litter or give them a helo extraction, so helicopter. And then we always have to do a debrief at the trailhead. And sometimes we are provided food by the soup ladies, who are not all women, just so you know, but a great organization which comes and provides us with food. And it's so nice on those cold winter days after you've been out in the field for a long time and you're tired and hungry. Okay, so I tried to think of what the most common questions that I've been getting in these past in-person interviews were. So people have asked, can SMR teach me how to climb, ski, or mountaineer, etc.? So unfortunately, Seattle Mountain Rescue's mission is not to be an educational tool for people who don't already have experience in the backcountry. We just don't have the resources yet to do that, but we encourage you to check out other organizations like the Boeing Alpine Club, the Mountaineers, the Washington Alpine Club, and even ESAR could be another resource that if you feel like you want to serve, but you still feel like you need to learn a little bit more and beef up your resume before you apply to SMR, check out ESAR. What if I'm not available when there's a mission? So if you get a page and you're available, great. Please try to respond. And if you're not available, that's okay. Our system works really well the way it is right now that usually there's enough people. And if there's not, then the iTool person might send out a second page begging and pleading. And then maybe we cancel our plans that we already have and get out there. But usually if everyone can commit to about 5 to 10 missions a year or more, then the numbers work out okay that we can get to people when we need to. And so what if I don't live close to the missions? This is something for you to really think about before you apply to Seattle Mountain Rescue, is if you live in West Seattle or Ballard or Everett, we don't have a limit of where people have to live to join Seattle Mountain Rescue. We even have someone who, she joined when she was living in Seattle, but now she lives in Bellingham and she still comes down and responds and is very involved. But I think it's the farther away you live from kind of the I-90 corridor, the harder it is to get to missions. And you may end up feeling a little bit disappointed because if it takes you an hour and a half to get to the base, you're never going to be the first on site and you're not going to get to do the exciting stuff. That's okay. If that's okay with you, that's okay with us, but it's just something to be aware of. Okay, what about if I'm not sure if my climbing resume is sufficient to apply? On the website, we should have a document that you can open that will show you kind of, these are the types of climbs, the types of skis, and the types of mountaineering trips that we're looking for. We can't possibly list all of them in the world. So if you come from somewhere else, you'll just have to kind of do a little research and kind of compare what you've done to those climbs. If you've looked through that document thoroughly and you're still kind of confused on if, should I waste my time applying or not? And that's your only question, is whether it's, whether you have the experience needed. I'm happy to talk to you personally. So feel free to email me, and my email is on that page as well. And we can talk about your specific circumstance. Lastly, people wonder if they have to have water ice climbing experience to apply. We used to require water ice climbing experience, but recently we have taken into account that requiring water ice climbing does limit how many people can apply to Seattle Mountain Rescue, because it's not very accessible for people to learn how to ice climb in Washington. So we're trying to kind of open it up to people. We would love for you to, once you join, to learn with us. There's a group of people going to Ouray in a month or two, I think, together. And so, you'll have opportunities to learn those things with us. That being said, it's definitely a bonus, especially if you've had some alpine ice experience, because although we don't see a lot of frozen waterfalls in our King County area, it is helpful to be comfortable on very steep ice and comfortable setting ice protection. For example, if we get called out to Mount Rainier and we need help on a technical climb out there. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I hope that was helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions. And do take a minute to consider before you apply if you feel like you have space in your life, realistically. I think we can all be really tempted to want to do too much. And we really want to set you guys up for success, that if you join, that you do have the time to go on all the missions required and to really commit and give it your all. I think we just want you to succeed. So, reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Climb on. Bye.